All right. Welcome to the very first Storybook Office Hours. Kai, thank you very much. Kai Roeder is our storybook friend, and we've all gotten to know Kai a little bit over the last couple of years, or over the last couple of weeks. We appreciate it. It feels like we've known you for years, Kai.
Yeah.
And so my first question, I'm going to kick us off. Who is this Mark Berry guy that just jumped in? I see Mark Berry here, and I've heard this name. How are you, Mark Berry?
Good. Yeah.
Welcome.
Yeah. I guess I don't. Unless you're in the issues or Discord, you probably hadn't heard of me. So.
Well, it's nice to meet you. Do you want to introduce yourself? I hate to put you on the spot, but I've heard. I know who. I know you're. Well, I know you're a friend of Kai, so you're automatically a friend of ours. That's how it works here.
Yeah. I guess I'm just kind of like kind of full stack. I do a lot of front end and back end, but in my free time, I'm doing something with Angular or Storybook. So I'm kind of
right.
When I get time, I try to find problems in Storybook, but I probably comment on issues more than I actually commit codes.
Well, welcome. We're glad to have. So you're one of our storybook experts, and we should have Kai introduce you, really, because we know Kai and Kai knows you.
Yeah, that's a fun fact. I don't know Mark that well as well.
All right.
So it's nice to have a self introduction by him, and maybe for those who don't know me, I can introduce myself as well.
Absolutely.
Hi, I'm Kai, and I am a maintainer for a Storybook for, I think, 2 or 3 years now. I don't know exactly, but now mainly not changing code so much in the Storybook repo, but doing more of the community stuff like this today. In my company, I'm a library author, so that's kind of my scope. Don't expect me, or I let me speak for Mark as well, to be an expert for everything in Storybook, because this ecosystem is so large, and I expect you, those who already use Storybook, to also raise your hand, and maybe you have a good opinion on certain questions that people ask. So feel free to just join in the discussions, and don't expect us as to be the geniuses in Storybook and the experts here. So let's make this an open discussion for everyone.
I have been really happy so far because the Storybook channel has not been there very long, but I'm tickled because people go in there and post questions and they get answered. So that's pretty exciting. So I really appreciate you for that, Kai. And I see a lot of familiar. So I see Natty and Ankita and Demalia and Rob and Steve. I see Azaria. I see Val. I see Mo. I haven't met Mo. Mo, can I pick on you because I haven't met you yet? Do you want to say hi? I don't want to put you on the spot, but you look like a friendly guy. Do you want to introduce yourself? You don't have to. Okay. Well, I'm not going to pick on you because you're muted. But we can move on. That's fine. And if you want to introduce yourself, you're more than welcome to do so. And in the meantime, does anybody have questions about Storybook? Go ahead, Rob.
Basically, I haven't really had time to go in to see what Storybook is all about, and I really would like to know how is this able to help when you are developing an application, I guess from scratch, or maybe a component. Not sure how that will help. So, but I have a notion of what a storybook is. Basically, it's a screenshot or some kind of a representation of what the screen is going to look like. But I don't know how does that turn into code, or not sure. So if you can, go just give a brief explanation what storybook is all about, how does it work, and how can it help, in development.
Yeah. From my perspective as a library author, I don't use Storybook that often in applications. You should, but I'm not an app developer in my company, so more like a framework developer. And in my case, it's it started to be a playground. So basically, I created the library and thought, okay, I need an application to show to render my components I developed for the framework. And then I thought, okay, do I really want to maintain my own application and write down my own demonstration application with that can contain bugs as well? And I have to maintain not only my framework but my demonstration application. And then I found Storybook, and this was a pretty good start. What Storybook actually is, it's for when you start with it, a playground for your components. So you write a story file for your component. You have your button.component.ts and you have a button.stories.ts file as an example. And you start with your story and render your component. And then you start the actual development of that component and write down in isolation. That's the key fact here. In isolation, you write down your components, and this starts with the button and can grow up to a complete layout. So let's say you have a booking form, and you have all your steps in separate stories, and it really helps to get outside of this application state. If you develop all this stuff in your application, you always have this. You have to be logged in or you have to be logged out. You have states like, okay, I have to fill in the first 2 steps of my 3-step long form and change something in step 3. And then the page reloads. I have to fill in step 1 and step 2 again to see the changes in step 3 and so on and so forth. And it really slows you down. And Storybook, if you use Storybook correctly, you don't have this factor that slows you down. So it really helps to develop your components in isolation. That's the key fact here. Maybe Mark, you want to add something, or someone else?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's like I guess the way I primarily use it is like in my library. I try to. So I mean, I basically do like Kai was saying, but in the library, I try to keep it a little more organized and try to make sure that each story is kind of to the point where it's an example that somebody could use in our application, or at least kind of play with the component and see how it works. Now, in our application, I still use it, but I don't really keep up with it and maintain it as well. In like the application, since I'm usually doing front and back end, I'll like build my component in a story, make sure it's going to work right and kind of acts the way I want. Then I'll do the back end and know that, like, I guess I already have the functionality. I just need the data coming or going from the back end. But kind of at that point, I don't really maintain it again until I have to work on that component again. So it's like in my library, I kind of try to organize it as documentation, but in the application, I mainly just use it for development, just because I can isolate and kind of like what Kai was saying, you can get 2 pages without having to worry about, okay, is this user this type of user, or am I logged in, and things like that. But,
yeah,
if it's okay with you guys, I'm just going to share my screen and show this really cool GIF that's on the Storybook docs, and then maybe you guys can just kind of talk us through what's going on here, because I think this is a really nice GIF.
I also have a really good use case for Storybook, but maybe we can talk about this first.
Go ahead.
You can talk about it or do you want me to take this down? If it's distracting, let me know.
No, it's not. Well, I mean, the other use case is if you already have a design system or you're working on your design system, I think it's very helpful to have your entire design system published on Storybook, so that all the people, designers as well as devs, can come in, look at, like, suppose the type of buttons you have in primary, secondary buttons, and they can look at your other components in isolation, like, okay, these are the variations of modals we have, or these are the variations of input fields we have currently established. And yeah, like as Jeff is showing, there are a lot of add-ons that you can add-on on your Storybook, and they allow you to visualize your apps in isolation in those settings. You can change in the data, like your component has input and output field, so you can provide it variations of input data, so you can see that particular component in various stages, like what does it look like when it doesn't have any data versus it has one data versus it has 10 data points, and how does it react to that, how does the component handle uh, whatever scale of data or no data, and in how the component looks like in various themes. Like right now, right, they just switched the theme, so you can have multiple themes configured from just as you would have in your app. You can configure Storybook to load all of the stories that you have for all of the components. And really, a lot of companies actually have that. I know Audi's design system, not just the components, they have everything defined on Storybook for their component libraries, and you can have like your design tokens and everything also defined in there. So it's extremely helpful for not just the new people who join your team, but for existing people to quickly reference. If especially when you have a huge app and it's hard to keep track of uh, all the different types of components or variations that a component can have, like what component can just quickly leverage and
So you
build
can
something
isolate
like
one
that.
component. And especially this is good for like error messages where you have to click all through all kinds of stuff. So you don't have to do that. You can just go to it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think someone raised the hand. How
Yeah,
can I
it
see?
was me, and then
Okay.
Azariah. I don't know if I'm butchering your name. Hi.
Azaria?
So Azaria. Okay, that sounds better. Thanks.
Azaria.
Azaria.
That sounds nice than what I said. I'm sorry. I don't know if I insulted you. But what I was going to ask is, uh, I just finished the implementation for the proof of concept, and right now I am trying to actually implement it with our component library in a company I'm working for right now, and they have like dozens, maybe 100 of components, and they are interested in adding some of the Storybook add-ons. Is I noticed that these are not maintained by the official Storybook team. The ones they're interested on are Storybook Jest and another one for making it connect with Abstract. Is there any good parameter I could use to to see if there's enough support for them, if someone else in here is using them, or what would be the best parameter by you guys Storybook team to decide whether it's good to waste my time trying to add them or if they're a waste of time?
I guess npm download counter is one indicator, but not
Yeah.
not a really good one, because maybe you have a use case that only a few have, and but you need it, and it's hard to tell. Most of the add-ons I use are well maintained. There's for example, there's one that allows you to preview Adobe XD files in your Storybook, but this is not maintained and does not work anymore correctly for us. So we actually thought about even to change to Figma, because the Figma add-on is supported by Figma itself and maintained by by Figma itself. And it would be pretty cool for our design team to see the prototype directly by the story files and compare was it developed correctly. And this is one example. So there are add-ons that are not maintained, and Storybook throws out breaking changes every now and then, or deprecates add-ons. It's hard to tell, and more like a question like with every other package on npm, can I use it? Is it well maintained? I'm not sure.
Is there like a list of trusted contributors or trusted add-ons or trusted complements that I could look into?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know, Mark. Do you know? I mean, we have the add-on list on the webpage, but it lists every add-on if you just add the right text to your package JSON file.
You mean the Storybook team doesn't support all of the Storybook add-ons?
Yes, the internal add-ons, but okay. There are like 12 add-ons that the Angular, the Storybook team maintains, but there.
If it says Storybook, it's your responsibility, Kai. That's just yeah. We've adopted you now. We're going to ask you everything there is to know about Storybook. We just think you know now.
Nadi, for me personally, what I've found that the official Storybook add-ons, they usually solve all of the problems or all of the use cases that I have for using Storybook. So maybe start there and then see if there's anything additional. There's Chromatic, I think. There are a few others that are really well supported. And yeah, like in either package, you can just see if it's being maintained.
Yeah. I was hoping that at least Storybook Jest, that is, two big different things like Storybook that are well maintained and Jest that is well maintained. So I was hoping at least that complement could have, at least someone that's already using someone else's experience. But if not, then I guess I can be the first one in Angular Nation and let you know how it goes.
Absolutely.
I will do my best.
I keep hearing this Figma, and I'm writing it down because I feel like we need to go and find this Figma team and invite them to come and hang out with us, because this is what we do. So if anyone knows anyone on the Figma team, tell them that we're looking for them and we're coming for them, because we want them to come and hang out with us. And Azaria, so Natty, did he answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, to your satisfaction. Azaria,
yeah.
You can ask a question, but first I want you to hold that cup up again, because it looked really cool, because you took a drink of it. It was like you're taking a drink of the galaxy. Did y'all see that? Look at this. But you got to turn sideways, Azaria. And like, yeah, there you go. That was cool. Yeah. Thank you.
Hello guys. So my question was also it was in regards to Storybook and the use of the Angular framework. So I mean, I also did a POC of it to see if it would be useful for our company to actually use it. But the problem I ran into was like of data that comes specifically from a service. Is there anything specific that can be used to mock data that comes from, like, we have like a theme service, for example, that actually shows the correct styles for a given theme. There's a lot of like customizations that we can add on to our website. And a lot of that data also comes directly from a service that is being called.
I think we had a similar question in the Storybook channel on how to mock services. It's pretty hard to explain by speaking about it, I think. But in general, what you can do is always to like create a mock service that just implements no operation methods, and you can use Angular techniques like overriding a certain identifier, like my theme service, with another class that just implements those methods but doesn't really do anything really, or just does the things you need in your Storybook implementation. So that's how I would do it. Or you can also write a demonstration wrapper component. So if you have let's say again this ticketing component, and you need services for it, you can also wrap it in a ticketing demo component and use your ticketing component inside of it and mock everything you need inside this demonstration component with all the parameters you need. That's also a way I sometimes use.
Yeah, because like,
anybody use Faker.js? Oh, sorry, Mark.
Oh yeah. I mean, no, you can go. I was just gonna kind of add on to that, but
I was just going to mention that I used Faker.js, and I don't know if that's still a thing, but I like that. But that was it. That was quick.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, kind of like I guess what Kai was saying. Like, yeah. I mean, you can kind of. I mean, like, I make sure that none of my API calls actually work in Storybook. I make sure that all the data is defined in the stories, so that like if my server's down or something like that, I don't have to worry. My stories aren't broken. Like, I make sure that all of my data is mocked. So I just make sure that my components inject a service, and then you can use basically anything that you can provide that will work for that token. You can just inject it in place of it. And but I do it for like services for API calls, and then I think sort of like what Kai was getting to with one point is like, I mean, I do it for components also. So like my modal, I have a wrapper for my modals that it kind of injects, or I guess it kind of wraps it to where the modals can, or anything that injects a parent can inject it, and then like instead of having to actually open the modal to see it, it just forces the modal to be open, and then I disable all functionality for closing it, so that it's just the story is always that open modal and none of the like escape or X and anything that will close it. So it's kind of like I'm just injecting like a replacement kind of component to for the stories. But
if you see Storybook as similar to any other unit testing, a form of unit testing, it's very similar that you, just like you would unit test your component by mocking service or injecting mocked services. Like if we use NGRX, and you could use the providers to provide a mock store in mock actions and things like that in Storybook. So it's really similar to how you would configure your unit test for that same component, that you use Storybook in the same way for that component.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, like having like a mocked version of the classes or the service, and like passing in that mock data in that what's it, module metadata. We actually pass it there by your provider section.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking about that, and like actually, but then again I thought like, okay, now I have to duplicate the service, and I just want to use what's already there. I just want to
And
like
yeah,
mock what is
you
actually
can use
important.
the same mock service that you have that you're using for unit testing the component. You could use the same one. And if the component only, or you could just use props to actually input mock data in it. If you just have an empty service, but you just care about the data that the service returns, just use like use value for an empty service and just use props to give hard-coded data
Okay.
in it.
All right. That was a good question. Thank you, Azaria. Thank you for the, hey, can you do that one more time for Sonder? I don't know if Sonder can see it, but just do the thing one more time because it was really cool. Look at him, Sonder. You got to take a sip, Azaria. There, yeah. All right. I'm sorry. I got a kick out of that. How are you, Mo? You have a
Hey,
question?
how's it going? Actually, I asked that question on the thread about, like I don't have a concrete reason why I need this in the project yet. So my name's Ronan, but Mo is just the name.
Oh, hey, I was talking to you. I was just going to say where you're from Ireland.
Yeah, I'm down
Hey, that's why you looked at me funny when I called you Mo.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. It's so nice to meet you, Ronan. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I just joined Angler Nation there the other day. I'm down here in Cork, in Ireland.
You have a neighbor here. You'll have to meet Simon. Simon is one of our friends, and we like him a lot. And he's somewhere in Ireland, but I'm not sure where. But I'm sure you know him.
Maybe if I see his picture.
He's a nice guy. So, did they answer your question yet, or well, you should ask us anyway. We can discuss.
Yeah.
Hey, Molly's in Ireland too. Nuh-uh.
Yeah, I am.
Hey.
What county?
Kilkenny.
Okay, I just moved from Galway to Cork.
Oh, right. Nice.
It's
Yeah,
a
we can
small
catch up.
world.
So basically what I was wondering was, I'll give you kind of the use case. I think it might be kind of interesting. So currently at work, we have like 2 libraries. One is for like common web components where they're all kind of, they could be shared to other apps that could be used. And we have another one for like specific ones to do with, say, like AG Grid. So they're 2 separate libraries. And we have like a demo app for each. One of them, we have like a custom demo app where we try and have loads of different scenarios and data that people can play with. And the second one, we use CompoDoc, and we've kind of hacked it so we could have a demo app in there. But we're moving to monorepo, so our kind of demo apps don't work too well. And we were thinking, should we try and get them working in the monorepo, or should we just scrap them? And maybe like Storybook kind of is documentation and a demo app already. It's just kind of on steroids. So we're thinking maybe Storybook would be perfect for that.
Let them do the work for you.
Well, we're just thinking of the overhead. Is there a lot of overhead in maintaining it? But we want a demo app with documentation that'll work well in a monorepo, pretty much.
That's a pretty good question, because you can use Storybook to just have this. I don't know if you remember that you have different tabs for your preview, and you have in the default installation, you have a preview, a canvas tab where you can see the actual component rendered, and maybe a docs tab where you can write down documentation. But you can also write something called MDX, Markdown with JSX, and also use it for Angular, and combine those 2 together. So you have Markdown documentation, live demonstrations inside of it, as well as by CompoDoc generated API table you can use that can sit underneath your demonstrations. So I haven't made that good experience with the CompoDoc integration, but I know that a better solution is on the way. I don't know when it gets published, but you can all do this with Storybook, and especially for library authors, as said before, I don't want to maintain this demonstration application. And the Storybook API is so minimal, so you can write stories so fast that it cannot compete with a demonstration application you write on your own, in my opinion.
Okay, no, it sounds pretty good. Another element of this as well is we're kind of, we want to be able to share these common components with another division. We're kind of joining forces. So I think something like Storybook would be very important there.
And you know what's cool is if you do the proof of concept and you bring it to us and show it to us and let us know if you have any questions, and then get it all working, and then you go show it to your team, you're going to look really cool. Because then all they have to do is take what you've done and copy it out, and it's super easy. Once you get it working and you get it all hooked up, especially with the monorepo, and you want to make sure it works, and then you get one component in there, and then you show it to the team and you say, now do this again for each it's like one little thing, and it's very easy to replicate. It takes you a few minutes to get it working the first time you use it because you don't know how to hook it up. But once you get it all hooked up, then doing it over and over and over again, that's the easy part. So you've done the hardest part, and then you show it to the team, and it's like, here you go. And they're like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, once it's easy, because I know our team, the main thing was that it might just be too much overhead, but it sounds like it's not that hard to set up.
No, especially not once you've already got it figured out and working in your own repo. And then you say, hey, if you want to use it, and they go, oh, we'll have to think about it. We'll have to say, and you say, well, I already got it working. I can show it to you.
Yeah.
And Kai can help you if you have any questions along the way. You don't even have to tell him, like, don't even say anything. Just like hook it up. And then once it's all working, then you just bring it in and be like, psh.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. I'm trying to convince my UX designer to switch from Sketch to Figma as well. So Figma, that Figma plugin looks really cool.
We should go get the Figma team and bring them. And then we can help you with a couple different proof of concepts. And then next thing you know, you're going to be like everybody's boss.
Thank you very much.
Ronan's like, I can live with that. Yeah, that's cool.
Thanks.
I mean, we talked a lot about add-ons, and one add-on that is pretty interesting, in my opinion, is the accessibility add-on, where you can see if your components are accessible live. You go to the story in your storybook and you see in your add-on panel what accessibility issues you have, and if you want to solve them, you solve them. And if there's some yellow case or other case scenarios you don't want to handle, you can ignore them in the add-on. But it's pretty cool to have this out of the box. I mean, you can use Chrome DevTools or stuff like that, but having it directly in Storybook also makes it way easier to develop your component while having accessibility checks all the time.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
if you
fine, but
recommend a
a lot-
plugin, then you definitely have to support it. I'm just
It is
kidding.
supported.
I'm just kidding.
Not by me.
So is
but
that
it
one of the
is supported.
built-in ones that's out of,
Yes,
that's out of the box?
I
So you
believe this
actually
is
do
one of the
support
built
that.
one. I think so. Let's look this up. Storybook A11Y. I mean, it's in the Storybook repo namespace. So add Storybook /addon -A11Y. So
Wow, that's cool.
seems like this.
Check it out. Hey, Mark, did you want to add something?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I mean, it finds a lot of stuff that I would forget. Like I'm constantly writing, like working on a component, I'll see the warning and be like, oh yeah, I probably should add an ARIA attribute or something like that. It's just, it finds a lot of stuff I wouldn't even, I just don't think about.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I like that. Okay, Mo, they answered your, Ronan. It's right there on the screen. Did they answer your question? You're cool?
Yeah,
Welcome.
yeah, I'm convinced. I'll do a little POC and see if I can get it into the work projects.
Yeah, just like get it working on the side. And if you have any questions, come back to the Storybook channel. We've got your back. You can't fail. It's going to be cool.
Thanks.
All right. And good to meet you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, Rob. How's it going, Rob?
Going well. Sorry.
Why are you sorry? What did you do?
No. I was doing some work. I'm paying attention at this at the same time, so it's kind of. This is like kind of unrelated to the storybook, but it will be a good idea to like put all the links that we type on the chat window on the actual event that happened, so that when people go back in there, they are able to like follow, what we're talking about, or get some samples or whatever of whatever we posted.
All right.
So
Are
I
you
don't know.
volunteering or assigning someone? Who's in charge of this?
Not me.
You dealt it. What is it? You smelt it. You dealt it, man.
I'll try to do it. I'll try to.
It's a really good idea.
Yeah, I'll try to do it. Like a little.
Thanks, Rob.
I'll write a little synopsis of whatever it is, and then I'll put the links there.
We appreciate you. That's
No
awesome.
problem.
I just posted a link to a learning page where you can step-by-step learn how to install and use Storybook in your application or library. So maybe this is useful to those who haven't used Storybook before.
And also, if I can add, if you go into the Storybook channel, there is, and I think it's marked in the featured section, or it should be, or we could do that. There's a recording in there from our Meet the Storybook team. The first time we met Kai Roeder, you guys, it seems like such a long time ago now. And so the recording is there. And during that Meet the Storybook team, when we had Michael Shillman, who's a really cool guy, and who I don't remember who else was there. I know Mike and Kai were there. And they actually did a little intro to Storybook demo, like a little hello world, simple thing. So you could see kind of how to set it up. So that recording is in the channel somewhere if you go find it. And that's also a really good place to start. And by the way, because we just, I don't know if anybody saw Anna Boca's debut in the Angular Africa channel last night with her Cypress friends. Anna Boca was an intern who wandered into Angular Nation, and we made friends with her, and we adore her. And by the way, shout out to Val for an awesome job hosting, because we had a full house last night in Angular Africa. And she wanted to do a talk. Actually, I think we volunteered. She got volunteered to do a talk, and she did a talk about Cypress. She hadn't done a talk before, and she didn't really know Cypress, so it was an intro talk, and it was really cool. And she did this beginner introduction. So I'm just throwing this out there. If anybody ever wants to do technical talks, you can do that, and it's a great place to practice here. We have Natty here, who is the host of our Angular Africa or our Angular Americas channel, Val from the Angular Africa channel, and Kita, who's the host of the Angular South Asia channel. And all of them have access to get you on the calendar. So if you ever want to do a talk, and if you want to do it like an intro to Storybook or any kind of thing about Storybook, then also, your friend Kai will back you up and make sure, I'm sure Kai wouldn't mind looking over everything to make sure that it's correct and, helping you ask questions and stuff like that. So I just want to throw that out there because this is part of the culture of Angular Nation, that we all encourage each other to do these tech talks. It's actually really good for your confidence, especially when you have friends who, an expert friend to help you with everything and make sure that everything you say is correct. Then it's just, it helps, and you can practice on us. What do you say, Natty?
I was distracted by Sanders' unthoughtful comment, adding pressure. No, I was just going to add something while you were talking, because I reminded of a scenario I was faced in another project, but it's unrelated to what you were saying. Although I would absolutely be all for a storybook talk, I would completely be there and listen and take notes, because I'm having more questions than I'm having answers when trying to implement it in already working projects. That's why I started up, with a brand new NX repository for trying to do what I'm doing right now. And that was going to be my question, if there's the room for it right now. But I guess it is.
Natty, there are always room for your questions.
Okay,
always.
Cool. So this is just because it's coming from my ignorance. Is there any example of a monorepo where there are multiple other projects from, both React, Angular, and Vue coexisting with a shared component repository using Storybook? Because that's the biggest problem I'm having right now. There's this huge NX monorepo. It has it doesn't have an Angular.json as a root. It has a project.json or something like that. And it's Storybooks, the NX generators won't work for adding Storybook. So I'm workspace.json. So I am blocked at the first step of trying to make it work and trying to debug how the generator works for doing it myself manually. But if it exists somewhere so that I can copy what happened, that would be better. That would be a better start for me. So is there any example that you know of? Anyone has already done it?
Are your shared components working in both React and Angular, or is it specifically the Storybook components that aren't working?
There are shared Kendo components, so they are wrapped for the other projects. And actually, there are just Vue, Angular, and one Electron with native script. So it's already using Angular components.
Okay, because recently my architect was saying that you can't have React and Angular in one monorepo, but I found an example on NX's website. They have an example of having React, Angular, Vue using shared components.
You definitely can have Angular and React in the same monorepo. You can. Yeah.
I also tried to find an example repo, Natty, and I really searched, went to 2-3 pages of Google search results, which usually you don't have to, but NX with multiple apps with Storybook, I haven't found a repo, but the NX, what do you call those CLI commands? They never work for me, even though my NX monorepo only has an Angular project. I think there's some configuration problem that it expects something that, because we converted this app.
Yeah. I feel your pain. But I had been able to follow the errors and get them working for generating projects or for generating Angular components. But the errors are just not self-explanatory enough for me to get that first step to find out why it isn't working for Storybook. So I'm stuck in the same step as you are, Ankit.
Yeah, right. But also, Natty, I don't really see a whole big advantage of using those for creating Storybook. What I started doing is just creating Storybook how you would create for your app, not the NX way, just regular how you can run the CLI command for Storybook in your Angular app. Just just like that, or just like right click and create .stories.ts file for your component and enter everything manually. Like what the CLI does is like it it creates the file for you, and it autofills, like it'll have the name based on, and it'll read all the input fields that the component has, and it'll have those as props and things like that in your story file. So it like automatically does something for you, but I feel like the pain to try to figure out why it's not working is not worth, like I can just copy paste that and create that file manually, I think. I stopped looking
Hold
into why
on.
that script won't work for me.
I want to jump in here because Ankita, I normally agree with everything you say, except I have to stop you there because I actually came across an NX monorepo years later after the architect said, I don't know how to fix that, so we're just going to copy paste it. And then a couple of years later when I came along, it was huge and they copy pasted it over and over and over again. So taking the time to figure it out, I think, is worth it. And I just want to mention that our friend, our friend Chow Tran, we've been hanging out with him for a while. He just I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you this. He just started, he just got a job at Narwhal and he starts Monday. He's on vacation right now, but I would assume that as soon as he starts on Monday that he's going to know everything there is to know. So
Yeah, he tweeted about it, Bonnie, so you can say
okay,
it out
so it's not
loud.
a secret. Okay, so I know he's on vacation right now, but I also know that he's on the calendar. Is he on the calendar for Angular South Asia? He's on the
He
calendar for
is,
Angular
but
APAC for sure.
yeah, he's also for South Asia, but like
And he'll be at
monthly.
Angular Africa in a couple of weeks if we don't. But you can also ping him, but he's on vacation right now. But yeah, these are very good
No,
questions.
I mean, I agree with you, Bonnie, that it's always worth, like, I agree that it's worth spending time to, like, figure out to do it automatically, but only for Storybook, the migration script that, not the migration script, the CLI schematics that creates the story, that doesn't, like, do, if you just create the file manually, it's not very different.
Yeah. Kai, it's your office hours. You don't have to raise your hand ever.
But I did because I didn't want to interrupt her. Lots of questions. I hope I can remember every question. Some are NX related. I just created a fresh NX repo today because I wanted wanted to be prepared in case of a live demonstration, and created a storybook for my Angular application using the CLI, and everything worked out of the box. But maybe I just used the
Yeah, it works.
happy
Like, I
path.
tried this. Sorry, I just tried the same thing. The happy path works. I think because our repo was converted to NX later, so maybe there's one thing that's missing, but also not sure. If you try the happy path,
Yeah.
that, like, if you follow the steps on NX side, they work for a fresh repo. Yeah.
What always will work is to have multiple storybook configuration files. I believe NX does this as well, and put in, and every project has its own .storybook configuration directory, and you can create multiple of those. And the only thing you cannot do, because you cannot copy paste. Actually, you can do it, but you cannot copy paste it. NX does add builders and builder scripts for the CLI, so you can just run NX run my application storybook, and if you can't use it because you have to do things manually because of any bugs in NX, you can still use the Storybook CLI with start storybook and then point to a configuration directory and add multiple start scripts for it. And if you, I'm not sure if you wanted to have React and Angular in one storybook or separate storybooks, but in case you wanted separate ones, but the result in one storybook, this is also possible with a feature called Storybook Composition, where you can have one configuration file that points to either local resources, local other storybooks, or remote other storybooks via URL. And if you start this one storybook with this composition configuration, it actually loads the navigation of the other storybooks as well, and you can collapse and expand them in your navigation bar. So you can have multiple frameworks in one storybook by creating multiple storybooks and create one master storybook that combines them all.
We didn't even
Wow.
need Chow. We had Kai right here.
Thank you.
That was
That's so
beautiful.
helpful, Kyreda. I mean, I was so unaware of composition. I didn't know I needed it, but I do need it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I haven't used like the composition much, but I don't remember if it actually works, but I remember being discussed, like, can't you like publish the stories as like a stories JSON, and then packages you import that have that stories JSON you can just like show up composed in your application's storybook also from the node modules? I can't remember if that's working or if it was just discussed.
I'm not aware of that, actually.
Okay, yeah, I haven't done it. I just remember it being discussed a while ago. So I don't know. I might be talking about something that somebody was just talking about.
Go ahead, Ronan.
Hey, yeah, it just came into my head there. One thing I was thinking would be really cool is, rather than for development purposes, but if you could have like Jenkins automatically like publish your storybook so that anyone could hit a link and like play around with it. Is that possible?
I think you can do it. I have no experience with Jenkins, but what you do is with Storybook, you build a static application, and it's only JS and HTML, and you can do whatever you want with it. Deploy it on a web server or package, and use Jenkins for it. In our company, we use it even for creating a new storybook remotely, and we have a version drop down with version 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, 3.3, etc. So it's everything you want.
Yeah,
It's possible, but you have to do it manually in some cases.
that's interesting because Jenkins creates like artifacts, so that could just be one of the artifacts, and then you could have a storybook for all your builds.
Yeah. You can even go further and say for your library, you build a storybook instance for every commit you do in your pull request to see to show your results to other people in your company or division. And Storybook itself does this, but you need a pretty good pipeline, I think, because if you use NX, how is it called, cloud or remote cache? I'm not sure. It's going pretty fast, but the build itself takes a while and can be frustrating if you trigger it on every commit. But yeah, I mean, at the end, it's HTML and JS, and you can do whatever you want with it.
So you're saying like in your PR, like you could have like a PR builder that will generate the storybook and then
yes,
like put it into the PR so people can see it in
as
line.
a comment, and maybe use a bot for it, and nothing that works automatically, but just to give you some points of
That's a good idea, because we would deploy the unit tests coverage in the PR automatically, so you could just add the storybook in there as well potentially. Because right now we create GIFs, it takes a lot of time, and we add them to the PR. But if you could automatically put the storybook in, that'd be brilliant.
And if you watch out, I believe you can find a list on a Storybook page itself. There are also paid services if you need it and don't want to create something yourself, where you can just look up, hey, this is my Storybook, just push it to this web server and stuff like that. I'm not sure if it's actually on the Storybook website, but I guess someone would do a paid service for that because people don't want to handle this themselves.
Cool, thanks.
If not, I just created a marketing idea, and everyone can feel free to create this service.
I think we have a channel on Angular Nation for projects, so.
Right. We need one.
Thank you.
Kai gets 5% of all of his ideas, you guys.
Yes.
This is a good question, Ronan. Ronan's got all kinds of ideas now. He's going to be building all kinds of cool stuff. This is fun. We're almost out of time. Anybody have any final questions? No? All right. Any final thoughts from the Storybook team?
Yeah, it was fun. I didn't know what to expect, but I had the chance to meet a lot of people here in this community. And what I have not posted yet is that I want to create this on a monthly base. And maybe Mark will join us again, or some other maintainer, and invite one maintainer every month. And let's see what happens, I think.
Absolutely. I am very much in favor of that. Rob, did you want to jump in?
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to hit that. I meant to hit the.
He just butt dialed us, you guys. Wow.
I'm on an iPad and I have like 2 other computers working on my left side. So,
That's okay. We appreciate
sorry.
you dropping the links in the event for us. Thank you.
Yes, I did that. I put all the links. Even the last 2 ones.
Thank you. And it was great to
Kai,
meet Ronan. Sorry, go
yes,
ahead,
Kai.
Rob.
No, Kai. Thank you so much for sharing this, and also for trying to create more meetups. That would be great. That way we can get more acclimated with Storybook, and that was a great project. I mean, so I think I can see the usefulness of it now after this meet. Thanks.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
absolutely. And it was nice to meet Mark Berry today. Thank you. Thank you, Kai, for inviting him. And thank you, Mark, for joining us. And you're always welcome back, obviously. And Kai, it would be fabulous to do this every month. It's good to meet you, Ronan. I'm sorry I called you Mo. In my defense, it says Mo, but it was really great questions today from everybody. So, all right. That's it for today. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Rowan. Bye.